he entered to the mosque in Ramadan month, and he opened his machine gun to the prayers who were praying. You know that we are, according to the Israeli law, we are nowadays we are not allowed to have any scholar who wants to come and teach in Palestinian University. They are not allowed. They say no, but your name has an Arabic origin. You know that since the 7th of October, all the Palestinian universities, they close their gates. They close. I mean, we are like in big cages, and the decision to open or to close this is not in our hands. Coming to the university every day, it's like a real adventure for some of these students, and they have to pay a lot. So she say, I'm sorry, I cannot continue. I have to save this money for my brothers and sisters who are actually waiting at home. We have students who have get enough education in the field of genetics, genomics, data analysis, programming in different languages. I think there are many things that we can do together with the CRG, like collaboration in research, collaboration in teaching, training, and also exchange of students.
Today we have a very special guest. Our guest is Dr. Yaqoub, or Jacob, or Jacobo, or in Arabic, Yaqoub Al-Ashab. Our guest today got his first degree from Turkey, actually. And then he got his master's from the university, from the UAB, Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona. And he got the PhD from there as well. However, our guest today is a Palestinian doctor. After he got his PhD, he worked for the Hebron University in Jerusalem for a while, as well as being a bioinformatician for Novartis. Now he is teaching in the Palestinian Polytechnic University, as well as lecturing in 4 of the 6 universities in the West Bank now. Besides, he is a visiting lecturer for the Universitat Autònoma de Barcelona, UAB. So we might see him anytime soon when he is giving a lecture after the situation eases up a bit. Dr. Yaqoub, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Hossam, for inviting me for this special meeting. Thank you.
So, such an interesting journey. Is it that common and that easy for every Palestinian to go abroad and learn in the UAB and before that in Turkey?
First of all, I would like to thank you for this nice introduction, and actually you just remind me with the journey. I mean, I was just forgetting all these stages in my life, but you know, to be honest, in the 80s and the 90s, the Palestinians were suffering a lot to travel outside and to be able to continue their higher education. And I remember the first time I traveled, I was 18 years old. I traveled to Jordan. And at that time I had, it was in 85, 86. And there were 2 choices, either to have a permission for 1 month, and you are not allowed to come back after 1 month. And then the next time you can apply for this type of permission is almost 1 year. Or there was another option, you have to have a permission that is called 1 year duration permission. All the permissions you have to apply and to have them from the Israel Military Authority. At that time, they were actually like an occupation authority, taking the role of of the West Bank. At that time, there was no Palestinian Authority. So, and if you ask for the first one, you cannot ask for another permission until 1 year pass, and the second one is 1 year you cannot come back. And in case you have any, let's say, urgent situation and you have to come back, you have one of your, let's say, relatives in need of you, or your mom or your dad, you cannot come back. So at that time, I decided to continue my studies in Turkey because, Palestinian universities in the 70s and the 80s, they were at the very early, in their infancy, period. They were just starting, and there were no many, let's say, specialties or faculties. There were just few universities, and they were only focusing on social sciences, and there were no, for example, medical schools, no science. There were maybe one, or engineering. There were no engineering. So I decided to go outside, and I decided to go to Turkey, to Ankara, to Middle East Technical University. And at that time, I remember I could not come back 3 continuous years, and I was young at that time, and my dad and mom, they could not. We have to wait for 3 years to see each other. And that time there was, there were no connection tools like these days. I could only talk to them every 3 or 4 months through some, telephones in the streets, because we had no telephone at the dormitories. And during from 3 months, from one talk to another, let's say, call, I don't have any idea what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in my homeland, and you have to wait. And I remember we used to sometimes to exchange. I used to write to them, because at that time they were very old, and I just wrote to them sometimes and share with them some photos. And usually they have to wait like few months to have the letters, the old style of something. They were very nice type of, and very nice style of communicating. Nowadays you cannot stay for more than 2 hours to see your daughter or your son who is in United States. You have to follow up. I think the life has changed a lot. And well, my journey in Turkey was very interesting, because I learned Turkish. Although the university I studied in Turkey, it was an American university. It was English. They taught everything in English. But I decided, before having my first academic year, I decided to learn Turkish, the 3 levels, the beginner, the middle, and I love the Turkish language. I don't know, maybe one of the things that I like very much in my journey is learning languages, because, jumping from one country to another, you have to adapt, and you have to learn new language, you have to learn the culture. And I think that was one of the biggest advantage, apart from science. And sometimes I believe that even learning languages and culture is much important than science, because science at the end of the day is a profession. But to know how to live and to communicate with people and understand the other cultures this is our mission in this life. Science is something that is a tool to earn your life, but the life is the communication with people. And then I decided to. By the way, when the decision to go to Spain was a very funny, not a funny, but it was a very nice story. After I finished from Turkey, I came back to Palestine, and my dad and mom, they were a bit old, and I decided I cannot leave them. I cannot go outside, so I will be with them. So I did. I applied for the Hebron University. That was in '91 for a master degree in endocrinology, but I didn't finish that master degree, and now I will tell you why. But during that master, I start also learning Hebrew, and I learn Hebrew in a very serious manner. I learn it in a way, even to master the Hebrew accent like an Ashkenazi Jew. And sometimes they say you speak like Ashkenazi, although you are a Palestinian. You have to reflect your Arabic on your accent. I say, but I learn it like a parrot. You know, I was in the language school, and I just listen to the teacher and I repeat. So at the end of the day, I found that what I learned was not the Hebrew, the old Hebrew. I learned the Hebrew of the Ashkenazi, those who came from Europe. So, and you know, they speak the standard Hebrew, but it's funny for this Sephardi. They have very strange, not very strange letters like the R. They say it's like the French. And for these 2 years that I spent in the university in 91 to 93, or things were okay, stable, and I was doing well in the university. But suddenly we had the Hebron Ibrahimi mosque massacre. You remember this? It was in 94. One of the Israeli settlers from settlement nearby Hebron, it's called Kiryat Arba. He entered to the mosque in Ramadan month, and he opened his machine gun to the prayers who were praying, and they were. He killed like I think over 30 of the prayers, and that tragic event changed all my plans, because at that time everything changed, and the possibility to travel and to go to the university was almost dangerous and difficult. And you know, the things get very complicated, and I start thinking, okay, is it worth to continue doing your studies in with a university with this kind of situation? You have to live. Is it worth to live every day in two different cultures? And I mean, the two different cultures are actually the opposites. I would say the two enemy cultures, or two enemy, let's say, lives in your day. So I decided, okay, this is not a healthy environment to do my studies or to continue my studies. So I thought of going outside. And at that time, I also get married. And my wife is a Spaniard, by the way. She's Spanish. She's half Spanish, half Palestinian. Her mother is from Zaragoza. And and she lives in Hebron. By the way, my mother-in-law, she still speaks Spanish very, very well. And when she speaks Arabic with Spanglish, a Span-Arabic accent, very funny accent. But, you know, she learned the culture and she is doing very well. So when I decided to go to outside, my wife said, okay, why we don't go to Spain? This is my homeland, and maybe we will find something interesting there. And at that time, you know, during the mid 90s, the Spanish, let's say, environment for science and research and PhDs was very, very promising and was very attractive. And you know, I read one article that was, I think, published in Nature in the first few pages in the news about, and they gave highlight about the scientific situation and the research in Spain. And I was very, very attracted by that article. So I said, okay, Spain seems to be a good choice. Although most people at that time, they decided they like to go to United States. But I thought of Spain. And now the question is where? And I was very lucky that at that time there was a meeting between the Society of the Spanish Society of Immunology and the Israeli Society of Immunology, and it took place in my university, in Hebron University. So I had the chance to meet with many Spanish immunologists who came at that year, 1994, I think, 93, at the end of 93. And I met several of them, and I was very impressed by the quality of work that they are doing. And I was very lucky to meet one guy that I still feel like he's one of the most special person and special friend and special mentor that I have in my life, and still own too many things to this great guy, Ricardo Bujol Boré, my supervisor and my mentor. So I talked to him, and he gave me the opportunity to continue and to do my PhD. So he invited me to Barcelona for 1 week, and then we decided to continue. And then I did my PhD from 94 to till 98 in La Autònoma de Barcelona. And at that time, I had very great time with many. And you know, Spain is also very nice and very diverse place. And you know, in Catalonia especially, you have to learn a little bit of Spanish and Catalan. I mean, I decided to learn Spanish because of my family. I mean, with my family, and but I also decided to get close to the Catalan language and Catalan culture. And to be honest, I felt that one of the most precious and invaluable things that happened to my life to study in Spain and to learn and to have a lot of friends in Barcelona. Not lots, because you know, when you study in Catalonia and you study, it's very difficult to have a Catalan friend. They are not easy to have a friend with them. But when you have a friend, Catalan friend, he or she will be a friend for the life. They are just great people. And you know, I had some, not very many, but few friends that I still, till now, we have regular communications. We are visiting each other, and I feel like it was one of the most important things that happened to my life, to learn the new culture, the culture of Spain, the culture of Catalonia, and you know, that gave me also the advantage of learning not only the language and the culture, but also the society, the food, and you know, the art. You know, when somebody is asking me what are the specific, or let's say the distinguished or the unique things or features that you find in each of these countries that you have studied in, I said that when I studied in Turkey, for example, the Turkish, they are very hard worker, tough, and they are like, you know, military. They are very like a military mentality, and you know, you learn the discipline there. This in Spain, or you learn the imagination, the innovation, the very, I mean, creative way of thinking. In the Hebron University, I mean, the Israel mentality is a bit different. It's public health. Public relation, communication. They are very good in public relation. They are very good in communications. They are very good in talk. I mean, the media is very powerful tool in science in Israel. You know, they are very clever and very smart in selling their ideas and selling their what they are doing. And that's it. That was a very strange journey. Finally, you know, I came back, and I had to think of my family, to think of my kids, and to think of my society here. So I'm here working for almost more than 14 years, and you know, I'm happy that I did this big transformation to Palestine. Although, you know, I still have Spanish citizenship, and I can go work abroad, but I believe that working here is a responsibility, and helping your people, helping the students, helping the university and some hospitals here is the you know, main duty in life.
That's a long journey. Thank you for sharing it with us. So we also know that now in Palestine, you started a lot of initiatives, or have been also part in some of them, especially regarding bioinformatics. Can you briefly tell us about these And what is the state of bioinformatics now?
Okay. Actually, the story of bioinformatics started with me, started in early 90s when I was doing my first master degree in Hebron University. My supervisor was an old physician, and he wanted me to do something with one of the promoters for the glucose transporter. So, and I hated that job. I hate it because it contains a lot of radioactivity and a lot of cloning for the promoters and cutting the promoter and cutting the enhancers and seeing if it's active or not. The was one of the assays that has that can you can test the evaluate the activity of the gene. So I was just thinking that we can do some much easier work by just comparing different genes that have more or less the same activity, and we might find the enhancer there. I didn't know at that time sequence alignment or multiple sequence alignment. I just was thinking that was in 91 actually. So I proposed the idea to my supervisor, and he said, "But Yaqoub, I have no idea how you can first of all obtain these sequences and how you can align, how you can compare them, because the word bioinformatics or alignment was not in the daily discussion or the vocabulary of me and him, because he was a physician, I was a biologist. So then I decided to get out of all this cage or this prison of the old-fashioned biologists and clinicians, and I say, okay, let me see if I can find from literature some sequences or somewhere. And little by little, I start learning that there are databases like the IMBL, like the Gene Bank, and I start learning that there are some programs. At that time, to make my bioinformatic analysis, I had to travel like 15 kilometers to another campus and to work with one computer there in order to make my sequence alignment. And finally, I could prove that the enhancer is there without doing the dirty work in the lab. So that was, a good justification, not to do the dirty work, but I learned from that okay, that opens for me a new whole world of using logic and using data in order to think of biology and to think of solving problems. And from that point onwards, I decided to learn more myself, the field of bioinformatics, and I use it in most stages of my research, in my PhD, in my postdoc, and now I'm more teaching and doing research in the field of genomics of bioinformatics more than immunology, which is the discipline that I supposed to be, be immunologist. I like immunology, but I think using the data and using let's say the logical way, I would say computational biology is a logical way of putting the data and analyzing them to find patterns or association. In my opinion, this is the easiest and the good way for the lazy people like me. I don't like to work with many data things. There are a huge amount of resources and data that are available that can answer many of our interesting questions. And I keep saying that for many of my colleagues who I met in many developing or underdeveloped countries, that look, we are very lucky now. We are very lucky because we have access to all the genomic, transcriptomics, epigenetic data, all kind of data that are available. And that now there are more and more data available. And we have many tools. And in case we don't like these tools, we can modify them or we can create our own tools. So it is the science of poor people. I remember one day they told me how you can define bioinformatics. I say it is the science of poor people, because you can publish in, I would say, not first-rank journals like Science or Nature, but you can publish in prestigious journals with good reputation without having any funding, just doing bioinformatics in your kitchen. I remember one of my friends from Barcelona. She works now in the hospital clinic. She say, "How you could publish this work?" It was published in Vaccine, journal Vaccine, and it is I think impact factor like 4 or 5. I mean, I didn't find any funding. I mean, I had no €1 for that paper, and everything was completed using the data that is available online and the tools that were also available online. But you have to start with a good question, with a solid question, and you have to find the appropriate data and to work on that. So this is the journey with the bioinformatics. So I love it. I love it because it fulfills my laziness desire.
We also know that you led a certain initiative with Korea regarding bioinformatics in the West Bank. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, with the South Korean, the initiative was not about bioinformatics. It was establishing a new let's say research center. 2012, we had a visit from the Korean representative to our university, and when I was explaining to him what I was doing, and he asked me one question: why you don't go to Europe to work if you have a Spanish citizenship? Why you don't go to work to Spain? Barcelona is a very nice place. I say Barcelona is a wonderful city. I love it. But I love to also serve and to work here in Palestine and to serve the people here. He said, what do you want to do here? I said, my dream is to have not a small lab. I like to have big, let's say, not a big, some let's say more space for research and to have more people who can join. And there are many young Palestinians who are outside, and I just said this, and I thought that the discussion is finished and was finished. And after a few weeks, I got an email from the guy. He said, "I'm coming back to visit you." And when he came back, he said, "Okay, now, do you have any idea about your? Do you have any proposal about your idea?" I say, "Okay, give me 2 days and I will prepare a proposal." He say, "Okay, don't prepare it just for few equipments. Prepare something that we can make a building, and it will be a building for a small building. It was not a very big building for research in the field of biotechnology, and it will be named Palestine Korea Biotechnology Center." And we were very lucky that the Korean government accepted the idea, and we had a small research center. It is not like big in European countries. It has a very small size, but with this center, we could now could bring 2 other, let's say, leaders in the field of biotechnology, one in the field of virology and other in the field of plant genetics, and we could establish a new master program jointly with another Palestinian university. And we are very happy now that within the last 8 years, we have many of our students, they got into important positions in hospitals or in different ministries, and they are now trying to translate what they learn into their daily work in molecular diagnosis or in offering services. And some of them, they decided to continue their studies and doing PhD. Right now, I have my students, I have 6 students who are doing PhD, 2 in Korea, 1 in the United States, 2 in Germany. And I have one who she's from Jerusalem, so she has an Israeli permission, and she works in an Israeli university. So it's very good when you see your students are growing. When you see that the small seedlings that you started as an idea with a group of people who you share with them this dream is come true. And I feel very lucky that now the students are coming with new ideas and new initiatives, not only in our university, but in other places in Palestine. And I keep saying that there are three things that I never feel jealous of them when they become bigger. And we in the field of research, usually we are jealous with each other as colleagues. No way. We usually, but three things in my life I never feel jealous with them if they get bigger, if they get more important. My kids, my trees, and my students. Because whenever you look to these three categories and they become bigger, you feel that they become bigger because you have some contribution in their journey of success. So you never feel jealous with your trees when they are bigger, or your kids. Also your students, you feel very proud when they become very important. One of my students now is working in one of the United States company, Biotechnology, and he's becoming like one of the CTO in that company. So I really feel proud of this. Okay.
Okay. You mentioned in the last question your students that you are very proud of, and one of them is a CTO now in the United States. And this raises the question now regarding the current status of higher education, how accessible it is to students, how available it is, how easy it is for students in Palestine in general, and especially in the West Bank. And in this status, what is the status of bioinformatics and software development for biology, and how much progress has now happened in Palestinian universities since you started in the 80s, where they were still in a very early stage?
Okay, this is there are too many questions here, and it's really. Let me start with the last one. I would like just to briefly highlight some of the major stages in the developmental journey of the Palestinian universities. In the 70s, in the late 70s, there were one university or two universities in Palestine. I mean, when we talk about Palestine, we talk about the West Bank and Gaza Strip. I mean, the whole higher education system. There were one or two universities, but in the 80s, there were few more, but not. But now we have, after 97, after the Palestinian Authority took at least the responsibility for the administration of several regions, like in Gaza, like in several parts of West Bank. I mean, like these small regions, and there is a new, I would say, regime, which is the Palestinian Authority. I mean, or the Palestinian state, but actually the administration was not like a full state, because when you say full state, it has to have a full authority, full, independence of decision, of travel and everything, but it was just like group of administrative, let's say, duties to take care. But at that time, the Palestinian higher education was governed or was followed by the Ministry of Higher Education. So there were more flexibility in establishing new universities or colleges. And so we have now a range of, I think, maybe, I don't remember exactly the number, but more than 15 universities in both sides, in West Bank and Gaza Strip. We have several colleges. But this is this is the official status. But now regarding the the real, let's say, output of these universities and what the real, let's say, obstacles that they are facing in the higher education, and are we happy with what we have now? I think all the Palestinian universities, they are facing similar limitations. The first one is that most of the universities, because of the political situation, are becoming like indigenous local universities. You know, when you say a university in Nablus, I mean, I'm living in Hebron, which is southern part of Palestine. It's like 30 kilometers south to Jerusalem. And Nablus is 60 kilometers north to Jerusalem. You know that you almost rarely have one student who is coming from the north to the south or vice versa in West Bank. And this is because of the political situation. I mean, when you divide the West Bank into small regions and you close all these regions and you put like checkpoints everywhere to disconnect and to ensure that these regions are totally disconnected. So you are pushing all these universities to be like a university that is only the students who are living in that city will be the major, let's say, I would say customers, or let's say students who are visiting or who are attending this university, and there will be like no connection. So we are becoming more and more like closed with no with no diversity inside the university at the level of the teachers or the academics, at the level of the students. We rarely meet each other. You know, it's easier for me sometimes to make a collaboration project with somebody from outside because I go and travel, and then having a collaboration with somebody from Jenin or from Nablus, because, you know, I have to make a plan to travel to Jenin, which is only 100 kilometers away from me. And, you know, sometimes I cannot get there because it's closed. There are many checkpoints, and because of the, let's say, military decision taken by the Israeli army that say, okay, now today we decide that this area, or for the coming few days, it's totally closed. So the life of academics or the academicians or the life of university life needs freedom, needs a lot of freedom, not only in the speech, freedom in the thoughts, freedom in expressing your ideas, freedom in traveling and in mobility. I mean, and this is not existing in Palestine. This is one of the factors that had affected the universities in a very bad way. That the universities are becoming more and more closed, in confined environment with very little diversity. And, you know, this is not good for the health of any university. You know, the very healthy status is to let the university open to all people. I mean, to receive academics from outside, to receive students. You know that we are, according to the Israeli law, we are nowadays we are not allowed to have any scholar who wants to come and teach in Palestinian university. They are not allowed. You know, they have I think last year, they issued a new rule that restricted very much the possibility of any scholar or any foreign student to come to Palestine to learn, or to come to Palestine to join in a teaching staff. And when I have some time, from time to time, I have, you know, before the 7th of October, I have several occasions that I have friends coming to visit me. I mean, in collaboration mobility. I mean, I have with Norway, I have with Germany. Usually, I tell my friends who are coming like a mission from Norway or from Germany or from United Kingdom, okay, when you come to the Tel Aviv airport, don't say that you came as a scholar to stay for, let's say, 1 week to teach and to make it. Say that you came as a tourist and you would like to see Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and you like to see the Israeli, let's say, sites. Because if they know that you are coming to a Palestinian university, that will make you a big trouble, and that might lead them to decide to let you go back. Yeah, and last year I had one French guy. She's from Tunisian origin, but she is a French citizen. They let her wait in the airport for 4 hours, and she was insisting that I came as a visitor, as a tourist. And they say, no, but your name has an Arabic origin, and for sure, it seems that you have somebody in West Bank that you are going to visit, and you are. And it is very difficult. I mean, so this is one of the aspects that the development and the progress and the advancement of the universities is facing, is the restrictions on the mobility for the Palestinians themselves inside Palestine, inside the West Bank. I mean, we are not talking about Gaza. Gaza is a totally different story now. Gaza has, I mean, when we talk about Gaza now, we have to think not of the universities, we have to think of the survival, the daily survival there. But in West Bank, you know that since the 7th of October, all the Palestinian universities, they closed their gates. They close, you cannot go to the universities because, and they, most of them, except maybe one of them, but all of them, they shift to online teaching. And the reason is very simple. All these universities, they are inside cities. You know, like in Hebron, we have 2 universities. In Ramallah, we have Biotechnology University, which in Jerusalem, nearby, not in Jerusalem, it's in the east part, we have one university. In Jenin, we have another. In Nablus, we have another. And they are inside the cities. And these cities, they are become like islands, totally disconnected from their environment. You know, in Hebron, I have, for example, in one of my classes, 5 of my students, they are from villages around Hebron, and no one of them is able to come to university because the city is closed. I mean, we have gates. It's like the gate of the it's like the gate for the zoo. I mean, we are like in big cages, and the decision to open or to close this is not in our hands. And it's, you know, sometimes they open it for 2 hours, 3 hours in the middle of the day. And sometimes when you have one of the soldiers who is who wants just to make some kind of actions like a revenge, and he just closed it for 3-4 hours. On the second day, it might be open. I mean, it's like there is no rule. And when you think of, for example, in my university, more than 60% of the students, they have to come from the periphery of the city. They are not living inside. They are living in the villages that they are 10, 15 kilometers. And all of them, they have to come through 2 major entrances of the city. And these entrances are closed with big metal doors. I mean, you know, and inside the city, many of the places are also closed with doors like cages. And, you know, I remember one of my friends from Norway, from Trondheim, from NTNU, the Norwegian University for Science and Technology, they came to visit me last year. And when they see the doors and the cages and all these fences, and they were surprised, and they say, we couldn't imagine that you are living in such a strange situation. So we became accustomed, and we learn how to adapt and to survive. But you know, when you look at this problem from outside, you can imagine, and you can you can believe how much difficult it is to manage the process of education for at the university level. I mean, the higher education, because the higher education has to be like open. You have a lot of communication. Many of the students, they have to come from different places, and even the teachers. So during the last 4 months, we had all the teaching took place online. And now, by the beginning of February, we have a new semester, which is the spring semester. Now, our university invented a new style of learning. It's not online and it's not face-to-face. It's called hybrid or blended learning. So we have to teach inside the class. Those who are able to come to the city, they go to the city, to the university, and there are, let's say, 20-30% of the teachers of the academics. They cannot come, so they teach from their homes. But those who are able to come, I live in the city inside, so I can go to the university. But this semester it's not online, so I have to go. And in case they have, for example, 30 students and only I have 10 of them attending, so I have to give them the lecture, but at the same time, I have to find the tools to open the lecture online for the rest of the students who are not there. And this is, a very difficult process to be sure that you are giving the same attention to the both categories, those who are in front of you and those who are in front of their laptops. And the other difficult situation is that not all of them, they are able to buy laptops. Some of them, they have their families, they decided to sell some of their, let's say, lands or some of their, let's say, precious things in order to pay the tuitions for the students in order to let them study. And now, because of the situation, they have to take care of their, let's say, internet connections, laptop, and they have their extra, extra expenses of their life. And this is making some of these students, deciding to stop their studies. We have, I don't know exactly the percentage, but this year we have been in a meeting like 2 weeks ago, and there is a serious problem that a certain percentage of the students, maybe 15 to 20, they decided to quit learning. They decided to quit the university at all because it is, it is non-profitable to them. Because not profitable. It's not feasible because they have to keep the money for their families to live. And with the current situation, many of the Palestinian workers are not able to go to work, especially when in the previous, before the 7th of October, they were working in the Israeli working market. Especially in the construction and in the agriculture. And now everything is closed. So this adds, again, another burden on the shoulder of these families. So they have to save the little amount of money that they have for their daily life and not for paying for their kids and for daughters and sons to study. So we are really very sad that we have in my case, I have some of my very, very brilliant students. They decided to quit. They decided to stop. I have one girl that I was believing that she will continue her studies and will be a very good scientist. But suddenly she came and she said, "I'm really so sorry, but the money that I will pay, although the tuitions in Palestine is not very high. It's not like in United States or UK. It's the annual tuition for the semester tuition for a master student, or let's say for a BSc students, is almost 600 euros the semester. But they have to pay the tuitions and they have to pay the travel every day to the university. And with these restrictions of movement, they have sometimes to go and make a lot of bypasses and and do a long journey in order to get into the city through some of the, let's say, rural streets and some very funny way to get into the city. It's like an adventure. Coming to the university every day, it's like a real adventure for some of these students, and they have to pay a lot. So she say, "I'm sorry, I cannot continue. I have to save this money for my brothers and sisters who are actually waiting at home to have their daily life, to have food. I cannot spend this on education while my family is waiting to buy every day their breads and their basic foods." So you can imagine these kinds of difficulties. Apart from this, the difficulties in running your research projects or research labs. now in the last 4 months, I mean, we are almost unable to run many of our, let's say, experiments, either because of the lack of personnel, staff who can come and work, or the students. And the second point is that whenever you need some, let's say, consumables or kits, and these kits, you have to buy them through the mediators who buy either from the Israeli market or from Europe or United States, but they have to come through the Tel Aviv airport or through the Israeli customs. And, so you are controlled by the other side. I mean, if they decided not to communicate or to sell to the Palestinian market or to provide it with the needed, let's say, consumables or kits, you cannot do it. I mean, imagine that this happens to hospitals sometimes. I mean, in hospitals also, your daily or your weekly schedule of critical work, like dialysis of patients with kidney dialysis, or they are totally dependent on the availability of these basic materials. Well, they are now available with some limitation, but you can imagine that at any moment they might decide, okay, we will not let these material get access to your hospital. So again, I mean, this is what happens in the other side in Gaza. So what we learned during this time is how to survive under this very difficult conditions with the problem of mobility, accessibility to the university, the research projects. I mean, you have to have plan B, you have to have plan C, you have to start thinking of, I'm lucky in this special, I mean, the topic of the research, I'm lucky because I still can do some of the work by online. And I'm lucky still because I have my laptop and I have place where I can sit, and I'm not in outside in the streets, or I don't have laptop, I don't have connections, but you can imagine the situation in Gaza. But now I'm lucky because I can do some data analysis and bioinformatics analysis and continue my work. But many of my colleagues who are doing experimental work that needs field studies, they cannot do this. They cannot do this because they don't have mobility, they don't have access to the resources, they cannot buy these resources, and they are suffering. We are all suffering, but we have to learn how to adapt and how to do our best. And I think the most important thing here is to learn how to survive and to convey the message for the society that we have to be strong enough, because we have a message for our people. We simply would like to live. We would like to live like the rest of the people.
Pressure makes diamond, like if there is any consolidation in saying this, but I'm really sorry that this is the situation and this is how things work and this is how people feel. And
I mean, this is the situation in a place that still has, let's say, I would say, acceptable conditions of living in West Bank. I mean, imagine the situation in Gaza. It is a disaster. It's a total disaster. I mean, I cannot imagine how they are living there.
And as you said at the beginning, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that now there is any academic activities in Gaza. It's only survival activities.
No. I mean, there are most of the higher education organization, they were bombarded. So most of them, do not exist anymore, like physical buildings, and no communications. No, and many of the, I mean, I know few of my colleagues who I sometimes meet through Zoom, through some of the online meetings from Gaza. Unfortunately, we lost them in this war. They passed away. I know some of them from let's say fields related to what I do. But
Teachers at universities.
Yeah. Many of the university professors and academics, I mean, these bombs, they don't have, they don't know uh, specific targets. They are just killing everything in front of when they face the buildings. So I lost some of my very good colleagues who I know. I mean, I've never met them face to face, by the way. You know, I usually meet my colleagues in Spain every year when I go to visit Spain through Jordan. I know some people from Gaza. I believe that they are friends and colleagues, but I only meet them through Zoom. Sometimes they ask me for something in bioinformatics, and I'm trying to help here and there. Especially through my YouTube channel because they are attending some of the lectures. But unfortunately now, when you think of the situation in Gaza, I just think of. I hope that they will just survive and they will pass this difficult stage of their life, history.
Before the 7th of October, sorry, you were saying?
I say I hope that they will pass this very difficult stage of their history as soon as possible. And this for
We all
us to
hope
finish.
so. We all hope so, and the general consensus that we have, and we are always calling for, asking for, wishing for a ceasefire at the earliest. Regarding this, you said you have never met them before. Even before the 7th of October, it was difficult to go to Gaza if you're from the West Bank or the other way around?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can imagine that for me, I when I go to teach in Barcelona, they ask me the same question. I say it's Barcelona is much closer. I mean, not physically, but in terms of accessibility, it's much closer for me if I go through the Jordan than Gaza. Gaza, it was like a dream. It's totally like separated with a lot of fences, and you have to go. To go to Gaza from West Bank. You have to cross some Israeli regions. And in order to get to Israel, first of all, you have to have the permission to get to Israel, and then you have to have another permission to cross from the Israelis territories to the Palestinian to Gaza. And this is another permission. By the way, we have permission for everything in the life. We have permission to go from one place to another, to get to Jerusalem, to go to the hospital, especially when it comes to go to the, let's say, Jerusalem and other places in Israel. You have to have permission. Permission, everything. I mean, our life is full of different types of permissions, and Palestinians are very good in organizing their way of asking for these permissions and trying to help them each other to you have to go for this place to ask for permission A, B, C, and
Okay, we had a brief pause from yesterday, and we're continuing in the morning, as you see in the change in the sunlight. After Zoom closed the meeting, we stopped at how can we help in the CRG, the CRG, and on an institute level and on an individual level as people living there. How can we help?
well, this is a very interesting question, and actually, I keep having the same receiving the same question from many of my colleagues in Europe and United States, how we can help. First of all, let me address my answer to the general audience, because there are those who are asking you how we can help are actually in a very advanced stage of feeling the responsibility as human. I really appreciate this very honest and sincere and humanitarian way of thinking of the others. So I would like to thank all of those who are thinking of us and thinking how they can help us. But let me, before this, try to address the few points to those who are still hesitant what to do, I mean, in front of this conflict. In this last episode of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict has influenced many of the societies in the world, and specifically in United States and Europe. And I think now there are many ways of learning about this conflict and taking, some decisions and taking some position for this. First of all, I'm not here to play the role of defending, but as a human being, and as we all learn that human beings, they all have, as I said before, 46 chromosomes. This is the most important thing. We are all equal. And we have to judge based on this equity between human beings, regardless of the color of their skins, the religion, the sex, or the ethnic group, and so on. We have to be honest with ourselves. When we have to take a position in this conflict, we have to be honest with ourselves. It's very important to listen to the people and not to just be hacked or be engineered by the major media, let's say, industry. The media industry in the last 40 or 50 years was actually, or still is being governed by the mega, let's say, players who are re-engineering our brains and especially in the West. And every time we discover after a while that what they are telling us about the conflicts around the world, not only with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, is full of misleading information and misleading concepts, and most of this kind of attitude by these major media players was to serve the agenda for many political, let's say, parties or politicians or administrations. So I'm pretty sure that as academics and researchers, we are, let's say, the most capable people of making rational judgment and being honest with ourselves and building our thoughts and decisions based on evidence and not based on influenced by media that we don't know if it's really actually trying to mislead us or trying to be fair. Because in many cases there is bias in the way this conflict has been covered in the last decades. So the first point, before you think of helping people in Palestine, I think we have to help ourselves. Especially, I'm talking to the people in Europe, in CRG. I really admire very much the way you are, the researcher and the students, the staff in the CRG are looking and dealing with conflicts like the conflicts in Ukraine and this one, and they're trying to extend their hands and trying to be positive and trying to be humanitarian, which is something I really very much appreciate, and all the people, not only the Palestinian, are appreciating this distinguished attitude. But the first important point is we as human beings, we have to think and we have to judge based on evidence, and we have to be honest with ourselves. It is not recommended at all, and to have all our judgment based on a computed or let's say, defined rules and concepts that has been built through these mega players in the media for the last 40 or 50 years, that they try to put, let's say, like general rules. Most of these rules are based on false information, and they are serving agenda of politicians. The next step after you have decided to know, to listen, and to be honest, and to give your decision how to support this conflict. I mean, when I say here to be honest, and to be honest on both sides, I mean, we have to be human being. We have to be 46 chromosomes, let's say, humans. And it is totally, I would say, unacceptable to judge other group of people based on their race, based on their color, based on their sex, based on their ethnicity. Please be honest with yourself. Second step, once you have this, you pass this stage. How to help Palestinian right now? I mean, right now we want to survive. We want to survive. We want to live like the rest of the world, and that's the most important thing. I think there are many problems that we need to take care of before we could go back, or we could come back to our, let's say, daily life, and to start thinking again of how we can sustain the development that we have started in the last 20 years. So I think there are many things that we can do together with the CRG, like collaboration in research, collaboration in teaching, training, and also exchange of students. We are also having here a group of students who are really of very good quality, who would be very interested to continue their studies in places like CRG, which is distinguished institute, not only in Europe, but also in the world. So there are many things that we can think, but this comes like a second stage.
Thank you very much. And it's very assuring to know that despite all the hardship, all the circumstances that Palestinian students have now, you still have students who are qualified and capable of doing this high level of research now. So let's hope that this is a beginning of a collaboration. And thank you very much for letting us know about this.
I mean, just one point I would like here to highlight, that one of the major, let's say, natural resources that Palestine is very rich with is not petroleum, is not the gas, it's not gold, is the young generation. We have young generation that they are full of energy, they are highly motivated, and still, I think this is one of the most important features that I have seen in the Palestinian, and I can judge a little bit like somebody who is looking from outside, because I have been teaching in several places in the world, like in Turkey, in Spain. I have been working for some time in Italy, and I also did work for some time in Israeli universities. What is so unique with the Palestinian students is that they are highly motivated. They are highly independent in when it comes to solving the problems. Problem solving is one of the most critical features of these students. And maybe this is because of our daily life here. Life is full of problems, obstacles, checkpoints. So I think with time, we have evolved in a way that we have learned how to solve problems every day. And we have to make like bypasses. I mean, when my students are telling me how they come to the university, I don't know how to cry or to laugh, because sometimes they tell me very strange story. It's like, they can make small movies for Hollywood for this, how they come, they have to make adventure, they have to go through the mountains, and sometimes they have to hide, they have to pretend that they are going to. So with a patient, and there are a lot of interesting stories, and this has honed the Palestinians with many skills to solve problem. I mean, and they are ready every day. The default is to have problems, to solve them. When you live in another country, the default is to have standard life that is easy to work. I mean, everything is solved for you. You have the system, you have the transportation. No, here in Palestine, the default is you have to start your day with problems. with problems of closure, with problems of how to make financial management for your month, problem of how to transport, of health. So you have to be clever and smart enough to solve all these problems and to be independent and to work in a team. And this is another important. The Palestinians, they are very nice when it comes to work in a team. They are not people who are actually, they don't like to work with others, and they like to work separately. Talking about the teamwork here, I think that one of the interesting features of the Palestinian students is that they are friendly. They like to work with international team, and and that's it. I mean, these are the main features of the Palestinian students, and I think there are some of them. Some of my students are doing very well in different European universities and the US, and hopefully one day we have of our students, Palestinian students, who can continue their studies at CRG.
And technically, you think they have adequate skills?
Yes, yes, yeah. I mean, when it comes to the domain of, let's say, modern biomedical sciences, especially these days, the most important, let's say, competences and skills in biomedical sciences is the capability to deal with data, analyzing data, and trying to have, let's say, some statistical skills. I think we have students who have get enough education in the field of genetics, genomics, data analysis, programming in different languages like R or Python. And I was astonished by some of my students who attended a mobility program in Norway last year. They've been for 3 months there, and they did a good part of their master thesis. They're doing work on, they learn by themselves very quickly in 3 months R, and they start using some of the programs for meta-analysis, Mendelian randomization. So, and this is a feature of most of the young generation in the world. I mean, the ambition of the young generation that are they grow with the with the ambition of being close to the media, I mean the modern way of dealing with how to get data and how to analyze data and how to benefit from data and from the digital, let's say, tools that are available to them. So I think this is part of the big transformation that happened in the last 20 years to the new generation, not only in Palestine, but all over the world.
That's very assuring to know. And as I said, I hope this is a beginning of some collaboration. We will try to start this line of collaboration and hope for the best. So thank you very much for being with us. And if you would like to add anything before we end this conversation.
First of all, I would like to thank you so much for this invitation, for this kind of invitation, and for giving me this opportunity to talk to the people at CRG. I always feel very happy and very glad to talk to my friends and colleagues in Barcelona, the lovely city, the lovely place that I all the time feel it's like my second home. And I would like to thank all the staff at CRG, and the researchers, the academicians, and the students. And it's really one of the most amazing achievements that Barcelona did in the last 3 decades, the CRG and the establishment of CRG, and also other multidisciplinary and modern research institutes that all the people in Barcelona and Catalonia should be proud of, because they are actually an iconic research institute in not only in Europe, but also in the world. And the most important thing in these institutes, which is something that I really have to say as somebody who has been in Barcelona since the early, let's say, 90s till now and visiting them, is the internationalization concept. I mean, in the old days, I remember when I came to Barcelona, most of the universities, most of the students, they were, most of the staff were from Spain, from Catalonia, and most of the students as well. But nowadays, you feel like in an international environment, and the internationalization of these institutes, like the CRG, like the RB Barcelona, is is reflecting the modern research institute. And actually, this is something that we have to learn from the approach that has been followed in this institute. I mean, the people in Barcelona are doing really great job and amazing way of doing science, and they can be really a good example to the world to how to make not only a nice city with a very beautiful streets and places to visit, but also a city with full of science and technology and diversity and modern ideas and a lot of good, let's say, people who wants to be like helpful to the rest of the humanity. You know, Barcelona has been all the time one of the iconic city for the peace in the Mediterranean and for the prosperous and cooperation of all the countries in the Mediterranean. So long live Barca, Visca Barca.
Visca Barca.
Yeah, it's maybe it's the team, but actually when the usual people here, they told me which team you love. I say Barcelona, the city and the team, but actually I'm not a big fan of football, but I still feel like Barcelona is one of the very good examples to as a city and as a society to learn from it. So thank you, Barcelona.
And thank you very much for giving us all this time and sharing all this with us. We are very grateful for this information and for this knowledge and to getting to know you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Till we meet again.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully we can meet face to face this year when I come to Barcelona.
I hope so. Okay.
Bye bye.